There comes a moment in every life when the path ahead disappears into uncertainty, when the next step looks like a void rather than a direction. In those moments, the mind trembles, the heart hesitates, and doubt whispers louder than courage. Yet it is precisely in these unseen territories that the greatest transformations take place. When vision is limited and clarity is absent, trust becomes the bridge between where you stand and where you are meant to go. And unless one learns to walk that bridge, life remains confined to the familiar, never touching the deeper possibilities waiting just beyond sight. Uncertainty is a natural force that shapes the inner landscape of a person who is willing to grow. When the path ahead is not clearly visible, the mind struggles, but the deeper layers of one's being begin to awaken. It is in these unseen stretches of life that inner clarity sharpens, not through external guidance, but through an unshakable willingness to move forward despite the unknown. Growth rarely blooms in clarity, it often erupts through confusion, doubt and silence. If everything were visible in advance, life would become mechanical and your inner evolution would remain asleep. Knowing every outcome before taking a step would strip life of its depth and make your spirit fragile. The pressure of uncertainty is what fuels the strength that resides beyond reason. When the next move cannot be predicted, the intelligence within you is forced to rise beyond its usual limits. That rise is where real growth begins. Uncertainty stretches your inner strength in ways comfort never can. It challenges the layers of fear that quietly control your decisions and tears apart the illusions that make you believe you are safe only when everything is mapped out. When uncertainty enters your life, it is not there to break you, it is there to reveal the resilience you never knew you carried. Every moment of doubt becomes a forge that strengthens the core of your being. Comfort zones may offer temporary peace, but they never bring depth or expansion. Stepping into the unknown demands trust, courage and a willingness to be shaped by the unseen. The mind may resist, but something deeper within recognizes that standing still is more damaging than stepping forward without perfect clarity. Life grows only when you stretch beyond the familiar and let uncertainty refine you into a stronger, wider and more conscious version of yourself. By pushing you beyond the limits of comfort, uncertainty becomes a silent mentor that teaches you how to walk with confidence even when visibility is low. Each step taken without complete understanding becomes an affirmation of your inner capacity. This is how uncertainty ceases to be a threat and becomes the very ground on which you build your strength, your clarity and your evolution. Fear is rarely born from what is actually present, it is constructed by the mind long before reality even unfolds. The mind projects worst-case scenarios, imagines threats, and paints illusions of danger that do not exist. These imagined shadows often feel more real than the circumstances themselves, and they shape behavior, freeze action, and limit potential. Most of the energy spent in fear is wasted on shadows rather than substance. Projection amplifies uncertainty by creating false narratives of what could go wrong. The mind, in its constant attempt to protect, builds walls that prevent movement. Every hesitation, every moment of doubt is often a response to an imagined outcome rather than a present threat. Fear is the product of this projection and it loses its grip the moment you learn to distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. Trust grows when you stop living inside these projections. Observation is the tool that dismantles fear. By noticing that most of the perceived threats exist only in thought, not reality, you begin to reclaim your energy and clarity. The mind begins to release tension and action becomes possible. What was once paralyzing becomes manageable because it is no longer amplified by imagination. Understanding that fear is a projection allows you to face life without unnecessary resistance. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable shrink in the light of observation. The gaps between thought and reality become visible, and the imagined disasters that held you captive lose their influence. This does not remove caution or awareness, but it separates action from anxiety, allowing movement even when the future is unknown. Every step taken in the absence of projected fear strengthens trust in life and in oneself. When you stop being trapped by imagined outcomes, each experience becomes a teacher rather than a trial. The mind learns that most threats exist only in thought, not in reality. This realization transforms fear from a controlling force into a guide, and you begin to move forward with confidence, clarity and courage, even into the unseen. The next step in life rarely appears before action, it becomes visible because you move. Waiting for perfect clarity or certainty is an illusion that keeps the mind stuck in hesitation. The path is not revealed in stillness, but in motion. Each step forward creates the conditions for the next step to emerge, and the courage to move becomes the force that illuminates what was previously hidden. Movement generates awareness that cannot be gained through observation alone. Action produces feedback, teaches lessons, and reveals patterns that are invisible from a distance. The mind may resist, urging caution or delay, but the unseen path only unfolds when you engage with it. Without motion, the next step remains a concept. With motion, it transforms into reality. Life communicates through experience, and experience demands participation. Every small step carries the potential to create new opportunities. Even when the direction seems uncertain, action creates momentum, energy and clarity. Hesitation builds fear, frustration and stagnation, while forward movement generates insight and confidence. Life is structured in such a way that the answers are discovered not before, but through the journey. Motion becomes the mechanism through which possibility is made tangible. The fear of stepping into the unknown is natural, but waiting for complete vision is futile. Paths that appear daunting only reveal their navigability once you engage with them. The mind often exaggerates risk and underestimates capability, but action breaks that illusion. With every step, even uncertain ones, the path begins to solidify, showing contours, possibilities and openings that were invisible before. Trust in movement allows life to guide you. The more you act with awareness rather than blind force, the more the path clarifies itself. Life responds to motion, not hesitation, and every step taken opens doors that no planning or worry could ever uncover. Progress emerges from participation, and the act of moving forward becomes the catalyst for discovery, understanding and confidence in the unseen. When the mind is turbulent, even the simplest decisions become clouded and the path forward feels uncertain. Inner instability magnifies confusion and fear, making every challenge appear larger than it is. Balance within the mind and heart does not come from control or force, but from cultivating stillness and alignment. Only when the internal environment is stable can clarity arise naturally, allowing the external world to be seen with precision. Stillness is the foundation of inner stability. It is not the absence of activity, but the absence of inner conflict. When the mind stops oscillating between fear, doubt and expectation, energy that was scattered is collected and focused. This focused energy creates a clear lens through which life can be observed. Decisions become simpler, actions become more decisive, and the noise of uncertainty begins to fade because the internal ground is firm. Emotions influence perception more than external reality. When the inner world is unbalanced, emotions distort facts, exaggerate obstacles and hide opportunities. Stability allows emotions to exist without overwhelming judgment. Fear, excitement, desire or disappointment can be experienced fully, but without clouding insight. This stability transforms reactive thinking into responsive thinking, giving the ability to act with awareness rather than compulsion. Inner stability is not a passive state, it is active alignment. It is the conscious effort to maintain composure, focus, and presence regardless of outer circumstances. Even in moments of uncertainty or challenge, a stable mind observes rather than reacts, evaluates rather than panics, and trusts the process rather than forcing outcomes. Outer clarity emerges because the mind is no longer fragmented and the heart is no longer restless. The clarity that arises from inner stability is durable and reliable. When the mind is steady, the fog of doubt lifts, decisions are seen for what they truly are, and direction becomes apparent even in complex or chaotic situations. External challenges remain, but they no longer overwhelm because the internal compass is calibrated. Stability within becomes the source of unshakable insight, guiding each step with precision and confidence. The need to control everything is one of the greatest obstacles to growth. When you insist on determining every outcome, you tighten your mind and suffocate possibility. Life is fluid, unpredictable, and intelligent in ways the mind cannot fully comprehend. Clinging to control confines your vision and blinds you to opportunities that emerge only when you release rigidity and step into openness. Letting go does not mean inaction, it means relinquishing the illusion that you can force life to follow a predetermined path. It is the conscious choice to move with awareness rather than to push against the unknown. When control is loosened, energy that was once trapped in tension becomes available for creativity, intuition, and discovery. Possibilities that were invisible in rigidity suddenly appear when the grip is released. Control creates resistance within the mind and body. The more tightly you hold on, the more friction arises, both internally and externally. Every attempt to force outcomes increases struggle and diminishes insight. By surrendering the need to dominate every detail, you allow the natural intelligence of life to flow through you. The path forward is shaped not by force, but by alignment with circumstances, people, and timing. Releasing control fosters trust, patience, and adaptability. It teaches the mind to observe, respond, and move with clarity rather than compulsion. Opportunities often arrive from unexpected sources, but the mind fixated on control cannot see them. Letting go creates space for life to surprise, guide, and support you in ways that rigid planning could never achieve. Flexibility becomes a strength and openness becomes a source of power. The moment you release the illusion of control, life begins to unfold with greater ease. Possibilities expand, paths become visible, and challenges are met with clarity instead of tension. Letting go does not weaken resolve, it strengthens insight, presence, and effectiveness. The mind becomes a channel for awareness rather than a battleground of resistance, and each step forward carries the potential for discovery, growth, and unforeseen opportunity. Courage does not mean that fear disappears, it means that fear exists and you move forward anyway. Fear is a natural response to uncertainty and the unknown, signaling that you are stepping beyond comfort. The presence of fear does not indicate weakness, but awareness of risk. True courage is the ability to act despite the trembling, hesitation, or doubt that rises within you. Every step taken in fear strengthens the spirit, builds resilience, and sharpens clarity. Fear often exaggerates what is possible, projecting threats that may never materialize. When you wait for fear to vanish, you wait in vain. Courage recognizes the illusion and the magnitude of fear while acknowledging its presence. It transforms the energy of fear into momentum, turning hesitation into movement. In this transformation, fear loses its control over your choices and action becomes possible even when certainty is absent. Movement in the presence of fear is an act of alignment with life rather than resistance to it. Every meaningful decision, every profound step is accompanied by uncertainty. To wait for the absence of fear is to wait for life to stop moving. Courage allows the individual to flow with life, responding with insight rather than reaction. Each act of courage expands the capacity of the mind and strengthens the heart to face the unknown with poise. Courage and fear are not opposites, they coexist. The more significant the step, the more fear will arise, but the step must be taken regardless. Fear is an indicator of the depth of engagement with life, while courage is the force that enables action despite it. Learning to move in its presence is not a matter of suppression, but of conscious choice. The mind that moves through fear gains clarity. The heart that persists grows trust, and the being that acts experiences life fully. Each moment of movement, despite fear, reinforces trust in oneself and in the process of life. Fear becomes a tool for awareness rather than a barrier to action. The courage to step forward even when the next step is unseen or uncertain strengthens the foundation of inner confidence. Over time, the accumulation of these small, courageous steps creates a life where fear no longer dictates boundaries and possibility expands beyond what was once imagined. The mind often drifts into the past, reliving failures, regrets, and mistakes that have already occurred. It also projects into the future, imagining dangers, doubts, or unattainable outcomes. Both create illusions that pull attention away from what is real. The present moment is the only point of contact with life where clarity exists and action can take root. Without anchoring in now, every step becomes shaky, guided more by fear and habit than by conscious choice. Clinging to what has already happened or what might happen is a form of resistance. It keeps energy trapped in shadows of memory and imagination, preventing the mind from perceiving reality as it is. The present moment dissolves the weight of these illusions. It grounds the individual in immediate experience where observation, awareness, and response are possible. Anchoring in the now provides the clarity necessary to see the next step without distortion. Every decision made in the present is aligned with what is, not with what was or what might be. The mind becomes a precise instrument rather than a confused battlefield. The energy that was scattered in worry or regret becomes focused in action. By rooting awareness in the current moment, every movement becomes intentional, every thought becomes clear, and fear loses its exaggerated influence over choice and direction. Living anchored in the present is not passive awareness, but active engagement. It allows the mind to respond to life with immediacy and precision. The next step emerges naturally when attention is focused on the available information rather than imagined possibilities. The present moment acts as a compass, providing stability in uncertainty and direction in situations that the mind cannot fully predict. The anchor of now strengthens trust in life itself. When attention rests fully in the present, the illusions of past and future no longer dominate thought and clarity guides action. The ability to move forward without being paralyzed by memory or anticipation builds confidence and resilience. By making the present the foundation for every step, life unfolds with greater ease, insight and alignment, allowing each unseen step to be taken with grounded assurance. Logic is limited by what is known, measured and predictable. It can analyze the past, evaluate patterns and anticipate certain outcomes, but life rarely operates within such neat parameters. Events unfold in ways that exceed calculation, and opportunities often arrive through unexpected channels. Trusting only logic narrows perception and constrains the intelligence that exists beyond reasoning, where insight, intuition and timing converge. The intelligence of life moves in rhythms that cannot always be seen or anticipated. Patterns emerge not from planning alone, but from alignment, observation and responsiveness. Decisions guided solely by logic often miss subtle signals, unseen connections, and the forces that shape outcomes in ways the mind cannot comprehend. Life's wisdom functions in a space beyond linear thinking, where cause and effect are interwoven with possibility and timing. When you step into the unknown with openness, you allow life to reveal solutions that logic could never calculate. Challenges present themselves not as puzzles to solve, but as invitations to explore beyond the known. Every unseen step has a subtle intelligence guiding it, and by resisting or over-analyzing, the mind blocks its guidance. Wisdom beyond logic requires surrender to the flow of life, trusting that the unseen currents are working in your favor. Logic evaluates what is tangible, but life operates in the interplay of cause, timing and synchronicity. Events unfold according to principles the mind cannot always perceive. By acknowledging this, the individual learns patience and the ability to move without demanding complete clarity. Trust grows as experience demonstrates that even when logic cannot predict the path, life provides what is necessary at the right moment. When life's intelligence is embraced alongside logic, the mind expands its capacity to navigate uncertainty. Decisions become balanced, combining reason with insight, awareness with intuition. The unseen becomes a field of possibility rather than a source of fear. Understanding that life has a wisdom beyond logic allows each step to be taken with confidence, grounded in the knowledge that guidance exists even when it cannot be fully explained. The path ahead is not pre-laid or fixed, it is created with each movement you make. Every step you take influences what comes next, even in ways you cannot yet perceive. Life responds to action, not hesitation. By moving forward, you generate momentum that shapes the possibilities before you, carving a path through uncertainty that would remain invisible if you stood still. Each action, no matter how small, has ripple effects. Choices, decisions, and even subtle shifts in awareness send signals that alter the trajectory of events. The steps you take accumulate, forming patterns that the mind may not recognize in the moment, but which ultimately define the journey. What appears as chance or coincidence is often the result of previous movement, demonstrating that the path is a creation of your own engagement with life. Stagnation ensures that the next step remains hidden. The longer you wait, the more opportunity is lost and the path becomes obscured by hesitation and doubt. Forward movement illuminates the way because it forces interaction with reality. Each step, no matter how uncertain, reveals terrain, opportunities, and obstacles that were invisible from the starting point. Progress depends on the willingness to act, not the illusion of full understanding. Movement creates not just the physical or external path, but also internal clarity. Every step reinforces confidence, sharpens perception, and strengthens the capacity to navigate what comes next. The mind learns from action, refining its ability to recognize signals from life and respond with insight. The act of stepping forward builds the path, both outwardly and inwardly, turning uncertainty into a series of navigable choices. The creation of the path is a dynamic process that relies entirely on engagement. Standing still leaves potential untapped and opportunities unrealized. Each step taken, guided by awareness and trust, molds the journey, bringing clarity to what was once invisible. The path unfolds as you move, proving that progress is not found by waiting for certainty, but by stepping boldly, trusting that life meets every action with its own intelligence. Trust cannot be given by words, promises or assurances, it is earned through direct experience. Every encounter with the unknown, every risk taken and survived, teaches the mind and heart that life supports movement even without guarantees. Experience replaces doubt with certainty, not because the future is predictable, but because repeated engagement builds confidence in your capacity to navigate it. Assurances are fragile and external, dependent on conditions that may change or fail. Experience, on the other hand, is internal and permanent. Each step taken into uncertainty, each challenge met and resolved, strengthens the foundation of trust within you. The mind learns through proof rather than theory, and the heart gains resilience through repeated confirmation that life responds when action is taken. Trusting the next step without seeing it is not blindness. It is a profound alignment with life's deeper intelligence. It is the maturity to know that uncertainty does not arrive to cripple you, but to expand you. When you move with trust instead of fear, doors appear where walls once stood, and possibilities emerge where obstacles once seemed fixed. The journey forward becomes less about predicting the future and more about meeting it with an open, steady heart. In this trust lies the courage that transforms every step, seen or unseen, into a path of growth, clarity and inner freedom.